Okay, so let's start this meeting. Welcome. My name is Susanna Lorin. I'm the IAAP and G3ICT representative to the EU, and I'm also running the IAAP Nordic chapter. And I'm not running. I'm leading the organization hosting the IAAP Nordic chapter. This webinar is captioned automatically, so please use the CC function in Zoom to get the captions for you. And if you would like to ask questions to today's speakers and panelists, please use the Q&A function. And the chat is monitored for technical issues and also a possibility to provide links, which we will do during the webinar. And your camera and microphone have been disabled to avoid distraction, but you can, of course, raise your hand if you would like to ask a question verbally, if you prefer that to using the Q&A. We will start with some welcome and housekeeping, which is kind of what we're doing now. And then I will talk a little bit about IAAP Nordic committees, because we are just right now looking for new volunteers to our committees. So I wanted to mention something about that. And then we will deep dive into today's topic, which is a panel discussion with representatives from Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish public broadcasting organizations. And we will then open up for a Q&A from the audience. So I hope you have prepared many exciting questions. And then we will wrap up and just do a little bit of marketing for the upcoming events that we have in our series, and also what is going on at the EU level. And just before we started the webinar, we said that it's a kind of a pity that we do this in English, because we do understand each other in the panel, and we could talk some kind of mix of Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish, but we know we have participants here from Central Europe as well, and of course we want to make sure that our Finnish friends can also follow the discussion. So we will bear with us if we sometimes fall back on our own languages to make sure that we use the right terminology. So just a short update from the Nordic chapter. As I'm sure you all know, IAAP is a global organization. We have more than 8,000 members in over 100 countries. And that is both organizational members and individual members. So one member could be a really large organization with thousands of staff. So it's really a lot of people involved already. And to make sure that we support our members in the best way possible, we also have local and regional chapters, where IAAP Nordic is one, covering Denmark, Iceland, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. And we are led by an advisory council based on the founding members and some other volunteers as well. And we have committees where we are working on specific topics. And we are currently in the beginning of the year always looking for new members. So for the professional certification committee, for people who are interested in working with support measures and explanations, or making sure that we handle and promote the professional certification in a good way, we have a committee working on that. And then we have the member benefit committee, which makes sure that we are providing exactly the benefits that our members in the Nordic countries are interested in, and that is suitable for our regional markets. And we have a committee working on webinars and events. So if you are interested in speaking yourself or making a presentation, or if you have a good idea of super interesting topics or speakers, then you can always just email us and we will take it into consideration. But if you would like to work with the programs that we are providing, then it's a good idea to be a volunteer in the webinars and events committee. And if you're interested in joining our committees and contributing to the work of IAAP, or in any other way would like to contribute and volunteer, then please follow the QR code that we're showing online. And my colleague Stefan will also provide the link in the chat if you prefer to find the information that way. So that was the kind of introduction or update from IAAP Nordic. We had a big event yesterday and the day before, and the recording isn't up yet, but it will be soon. It's on Zoom events, so it will be published also on the if you look at the YouTube channel and the webinars parts of the websites. So soon to come, the recordings. And this webinar will, of course, is also recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel, and you can find it from the IAAP Nordic websites. So let's go to our distinguished panel of today. I'm really happy to have three of the, I think, the best people to talk to when it comes to public broadcasting in the Nordics. So we have representation from Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. Unfortunately, we didn't get Finland on board here, but I know we have participants from Finland in the audience. So it's my real pleasure to welcome Anna Zettersten from SVT, which is a Swedish broadcasting organization, and Heidi Sivebæk from Danish Radio, which, despite the name, is the Danish broadcasting, so also television, and Siri Antonsen from the Norwegian Kringkasting, Rikskringkasting, the Norwegian broadcasting company or organization. So very welcome, all the three of you. And I know you have very long and fancy titles, all of you, but I think they are not super clear on what you actually do. And I think I may know a little bit about what you're doing in your day job, but the audience may not. So I would like you to present yourself a little bit of what you do in your organization, and also something about how your organization is dealing with accessibility matters. So how that is handled in your organization. So Anna, if you would like to start introducing yourself.
Thank you. I will start, yes. My name is Anna Zettersten, and I'm the head of Department Languages and Accessibility, Språk och tillgänglighet in Swedish. That means that I'm responsible for all the commitments that SVT is supposed to deliver on yearly for translation, subtitling, that is closed captions, audio description, and sign language. And we have quite lots of commitments or demands on us, which is 100% of the pre-produced programs must be subtitled since 2014. And this year, 85% of the live broadcasting must be subtitled. A little more, less figures on audio description and sign language, 6.5%, but sign language and audio description is more of their own productions. So it's more of a greater job to fulfill that demand. And we have a quite close dialogue with the audience to pick out which titles we are to sign language or audio describe. For subtitling, especially live, we have started to use AI as a tool. So we are actually automatically subtitling one of the shows that we are broadcasting daily in Monday to Friday from 9 p.m. till 4 a.m. Almost 95% of that show is only automatically subtitled. And the progress is going further. So we are also using it for the news shows, but not all automatically. We are doing a mix. So that's maybe the most challenging thing we are doing right now at SVT, and it's very exciting, and we have a lot of audience dialogue around this. So the department consists of about 100 persons, and there is also lots of many more people around SVT contributing to these tasks. Like we have a special IT development team that are only developing tools for the accessibility services. And there's a planning department where with 10 people are planning all this. We have 12 deals with external deliverers. So all in all, there are hundreds and hundreds of people working with accessibility, but not all are in my department. Well, I think that fulfills about it. So maybe you understand a little bit more what I'm doing.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, most of the captioning is done in-house, but sign language and audio description are provided by external suppliers.
No, lots of the sign language is made in-house. We have nine employees who are sign language interpreters. The audio description we have had almost only externally, but we are starting to build up a team, only 3 people so far, but we are increasing the numbers. And as for subtitling, it's about 50-50.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because of so from a kind of an accessibility point of view, I know this is not kind of it's not a precise language, but when we talk about subtitling, we are kind of, it's a translation of something. But when we talk about captions, it's kind of the same language and just the captioning of that. But when you say subtitling, it's both, right?
Yeah, but I mean the demands are for captions, for closed captions. So the subtitling is translation. Yeah, that's true. I mixed it.
It's just it's a very different kind of depending on where you are in the world and also what you work with, you kind of use these terms a little bit different. So it's just wanted to be clear that we understand each other. So, okay, thank you very much. So that is the situation in Sweden. So we go to Siri, maybe Norway.
Yes, Siri Antonsen from NRK, the Norwegian public broadcaster. And I am currently now in 2025 working strategically with diversity, accessibility and belonging, and working on implementing it into our systems and workflows. And my colleague, Christopher Liam, who was supposed to be here, he is our digital accessibility expert and my replacement this year as head of accessibility. And Christopher and I work very closely together strategically. He's in charge of leading our accessibility network, started up this network last year, actually, consisting about 12 front-end developers and designers, and inspired by BBC's Accessibility Champion Network. So kudos to BBC, yes. We also have a department producing accessibility services, the same as Anna was talking about, such as subtitling and captioning, sign language interpretation, audio description, and spoken subtitles. We do everything in-house except audio description. And we have demands on subtitling and captioning, all pre-produced and live broadcasts. And we deliver on that. The only exception might be a local news broadcast, because we have 11 news broadcasts at the same time broadcasted. So that's a challenge. So we're really interested in, you know, Anna's experience using AI to do this for us, for the audience to get the subtitles without delay.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have daily sign language interpretation broadcasted, about between 2 and 3 hours, freshly signed content every day, and also putting all of it into the player, of course, so you can watch it whenever you want. We broadcast audio description every week. And we have also content in sign language that we have to broadcast every week. We also have a separate TV channel for spoken subtitles, and we are working on getting that that live broadcast also in our player. But currently, it's on the old-fashioned broadcast, linear broadcast platform. And so these accessibility services is one part of the work, but as Anna said, it's much larger than that. This accessibility network is very important to make the technology able to make the content accessible, and then the journalists have to know what they are to do to deliver, because you know, when it comes to what do you call it, bildebeskrivelse.
So you mean alternative text description?
Yeah, alternative text on pictures in our articles, because we have radio, TV, and a news page in a web page. So all the journalists have to know what to do to make it accessible. So if we are to succeed, then we need everyone in NRK to contribute. When you ask who's working with accessibility, sort of hopefully everyone. Our ambition is to make accessibility as a part of NRK's DNA. So much of my work and Christopher's work is strategically to implement all this action that we need to be done. Yeah.
And so thank you. That's a very good description. So when you're talking about making it part of the DNA, do you find resistance, or is it just that people don't know? Or I mean, does everyone understand why this is important if you try to get it out? Because I agree, it should be everyone's responsibility, but that's usually quite hard.
Yeah. We have been working, talking about accessibility and why it's important for us for quite many years now. So it doesn't feel like it's not that much of if people don't know, then they might be skeptical to it. And we also, you know, you can meet some old truths like, no, but we work after the saying, if you can see it, you don't want to hear it. For example, old saying from old journalists. And it's sort of truths that we have to confront and sort of push back on. So it's my experience is the combination between carrot and stick is always good. We try with the carrot first to explain, you know, that everyone has to pay for us because we're a public broadcaster. So then everyone, if you're blind or if you're deaf, you should be able to use all our content. So it makes sense. So we try to use the carrot and say if you make everything accessible, then your audience might be broader. You might have more views or likes or clicks or whatever. So we try with the carrot. And for those who, when that doesn't work, then we have the law, and we have, you know, we have to do this because of the VCAG demands and so on. Yeah.
But you seem very nice and gentle, so I can't imagine you with a stick. But I hear you.
I have it in my. I must admit, it's not very often that I have to pull it out of my bag, but I have done so a couple of times. It's not no one wants to do it, but sometimes it's needed.
Then it's good to have. Okay, so we go to Denmark. Heidi.
Yes. My name is Heidi Sivebæk, yes, and unlike Siri and Anna, I don't have a background by knowing anything about how to produce subtitles or captions or sign language. I'm a journalist as a background. And my responsibility is more or less like Siri's. It's strategic. I have worked in this area. I'm the editor of both accessibility and diversity, and I have been responsible for accessibility since 2011, and for diversity since 2018. It's strategic. You can say in short that my task is to make sure that we do what we are demanded through the public service contract. The public service contract is our deal with the Ministry of the Cultural Ministry in Denmark. And this means some kind of controlling, some kind of making sure that we are developing and supervising all the people that are producing our accessibility services. We have 4 services, just like the others. We have, of course, subtitles and captions. Thank you for that, Susanna. I wasn't aware of that difference. And we have audio description and spoken subtitles and sign language. It's pretty hard to say how many people in DR who works with accessibility, because it's all over the organization, and we have worked on that for many years by now. In my team, we are just 2 persons. It's a very small team, but we have, of course, a lot of people who produces captions. We have internal employees, and we have external companies who deliver the same stuff. All the live subtitling is produced intern, but the pre-produced are both internal and external. Audio description is also divided. We do some live audio description, and that's internal produced, but the rest of it is external produced. Sign language, we cooperate with Deaf TV, like the company is called, and they do all our sign language programs. Spoken subtitles, that's just a computer, so it's internal. It's in the basement. And next to that, there are a lot of people working with making our websites and apps accessible. It's a part of their job. It's not 2 persons or 3 persons who work with this. It's a part of everyone's job. And when we have got a number of new, it's a going through area. So we often have new employees in this in the digital area, and then we have we always have workshops where I or my colleague is a part of it, and where they learn that we have demands here, and everything you develop must be overhaul. You have to make sure that it's possible for example, blind people to use our website and apps too. And in that way, you will find employees all over our organization who works with accessibility. So it's impossible to count them.
Countless of accessibility experts. That sounds like heaven to me. But
I'm not sure it's heaven, but it's necessary that we do it this way. The demands, I didn't say anything about that. We need to have captions on 95% on our pre-produced programs and 70% of the live programs. And it doesn't matter if it's Flow or if it's in DRTV, which is our streaming, our digital TV. It has to be it's the same demand both. Audio description and sign language is we have a percent of that. We have to offer a selection of programs with that services.
And is that also based on user stakeholder involvement, the selection?
Yeah, some kind. You can say we have a user and a kind of advisory board, you can say, by our users, or a user council. We have had that since 2011, and we talk to them, but we also have a deal with them what we should choose. How should we choose? So we are not discussing every program with them. We have a frame that we work in.
Sounds good. And I guess that is the same for all of you. So it's kind of, there are similarities. There are some kind of differences a little bit in how you work and the exact percentage here and there. But I mean, in general, you have quite high demands if you compare with many other parts of society. And also, I think I'm not that familiar with the Danish market, unfortunately, but at least in Sweden and Norway and also in many other countries, the public sector, the public broadcasters are usually seen as kind of front runners in accessibility, like Siri mentioned BBC. So that, I mean, that organization has been one of the kind of rising stars for many years in accessibility. So I think you have, in general, are doing a very good job, and also you have very complex systems and very complex websites. So I think it's so rewarding to hear about the work and the kind of the energy and also how well you do this. And I know, or at least I know from some of my colleagues who have been working in broadcasting before, that you also get a lot of criticism as soon as you do anything that is not perfect. So people have a lot of opinions about kind of TV, but I think kudos to all of you working so hard on this and really delivering on all of these accessibility services, because you have been doing this much more and also for a longer time than many other organizations, really. So, and it's kind of a good thing for an accessibility consultant. It's always good to say, but if they can do it, why can't you do it? I mean, it's just so. So that's very good. But there are some requirements also for the private sector. So all countries have private or commercial TV companies as well. And there is a lot of details and nitty-gritty things around the laws. But just if you could give an overview of, I know you probably do better than the commercial ones, but if you have any view on how this will change with the Accessibility Act, and kind of what you see as maybe the barriers or the positive things when it comes to the competition between private and public, and could accessibility be kind of a selling point in any of this? Do you want to just reflect on the kind of the ecosystem when it comes to the legal requirements and your situation compared to the private? Anna, if you would like to start.
And the demands in the commercial sector is only online, so they don't have the same demands for old-fashioned TV or broadcasting as we do. Which is making it a bit hard to tappar bort vad jämföra heter.
Compare?
Yeah, to compare them. Thank you. But we are also having quite a lot of dialogue with, for example, TV4, which is the biggest commercial actor in Sweden. So we are, I meet the person who is in kind of the same position there to talk about how do we, can we have the same guidelines for audio description so that the audience don't have to think in other ways when they watch TV4. How do we act when it comes to AI? And there we have, of course, very different views. TV4 is going into the AI with quite a large force, and on programs that we still are waiting because the language models aren't good enough. But the impact of the new directives is maybe going to change all this because SVT and public service is excluded from WCAG and the directive from the EU, as we all know. But we are still ahead of that directive. So we're sitting like safe in the boat, so to speak. It's in our interest and in the audience interest not to see the commercial companies as competitors or like enemies here, but because it's for the audience best. And if they invent something or find out a good workflow that works also for us, that it's just a benefit for us. So there's no point in the big one is only doing their own job and the others are supposed to follow and try to, because there has absolutely been situations where the commercial have inspired us. So I think we have quite a good a relationship, and not this kind of animosity that were in the 80s and 90s when it was seen as competitive. Because everything that's good for accessibility in the community is good for us too. So,
That's very rewarding to hear. I know I was leading some of the studies for one of the agencies, Myndigheten för radio och TV, way back when they were doing kind of auditing of how the market looked and so on. And we had some interviews, and I don't want to mention names, but there were some people that I was very surprised of their attitude towards this whole thing. And they were clearly not very happy about the regulations coming up in their direction. But I'm happy to hear that you have a good relation and kind of cope, because of course, from a user perspective, the more similarities you can provide, the better, because it shouldn't matter for me as a user if I look at this or that, or even if it's kind of linear or digital. So that's very good to hear. And Siri, what are your views on the private sector? Are you also friends with them?
Yes, of course. We're friends with everyone. We are, since we are owned by everyone, then we say open. We openly share everything as far as we can. Not the journalist part of it, maybe, but when it comes to this, we share with everyone. When it comes to requirements, there are sort of 3 different regulations. You have the requirements for accessibility services, like captioning, sign language, and so on. And then you have the VCAG, and then the Accessibility Directive. And when it comes to the accessibility services, as a public broadcaster, we have far more extensive requirements than the commercial companies. They do have requirements as well, but not as heavily as we do. When it comes to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, we have exceptions from some of them when it comes to website and apps, some of them. But the commercial broadcasters in Norway must follow all of them. So there's a discrepancy there. And there will soon be an update on the Broadcasting Act when it comes to accessibility services, so we're not sure how that will turn out, but we'll have to wait and see. When it comes to the Accessibility Directive, it's not yet implemented in Norway, so we don't know exactly how it will affect us. We might, but it looks like it won't affect us a lot. It will mostly affect the distributors and those who produce TV sets. Exactly. And that is really good news for us. As Anna said, a lot of our challenges is that the audience have different ways, you know, depending on what kind of TV set or what distributor you have, there's sort of different ways to find the captioning, and that's quite a challenge for a lot of our audience, and especially the older generations that are not so technical. So we really welcome the Accessibility Directive in that way, to standardize more the user experience.
And it's when we talk to the TV industry, if you will, so not the private broadcasters, but everyone kind of creating TV sets and all of that, they go kind of, whoa, this is so difficult, not because they don't want to, because the ecosystem is, or the kind of value chain is so complex. So somebody is producing the program, another one is producing the sign language or the captions or the whatever accessibility services, and that's going to be kind of meddled into something, and then it should be provided in an app or a TV or something else, and it's just, there's so many possibilities, as you say, for the users, but how do we make sure that the user actually understand where are all these services and what is the best way for me to perceive all of this? So I think there's still a lot. The law will help, I'm sure, but we see that in web accessibility that there are a lot of things built into websites and browsers that people have no clue about. So I'm you know, it's kind of the information gap also for the users. I think that is another kind of set of work needs to be done.
For the users to know that the service exists at all, because because of these challenges when it comes to user the user part of it, we haven't been able to make commercials telling our audience that we do have captioning on this. We are speaking Norwegian in all news broadcasts, in discussions, whatever. We have subtitling, but we can't tell them that because we know that it's going to be too difficult for them to find the subtitles. We can't make one commercial telling them how to find it. So a lot of old people don't know that we do subtitles or live news broadcast, for example.
Or they know, but they can't find it.
Even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when my parents, who are 90 something, both of them, they wanted some help with their old TV, and I tried to figure out how to just walk through the menu, and I was like, oh my God, I thought I knew something about this, but it's as a horror of navigation through kind of, you know.
My mother was recently on rehabilitation after an illness, and then they have a TV, and I finally found the subtitles under the language Danish. So I had to choose. I want the language in Danish, and then I had Norwegian subtitles.
Not entirely intuitive, I would say.
No.
So what about Denmark, the relation to the commercial companies and the laws, and how do you see kind of increasing?
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself an expert in those demands, but as I see it, we have 3 different demands, you can say, or obligations. We have DR, we have our public service contract. TV2 is both commercial and public service, and they have a lot of obligations that looks like the ones we have in DR, but a little less in all of it. And they are not, they don't have to offer all the public service services at all their channels. They primarily must provide services at the TV2 Denmark, as it's called. It's a main channel. They do provide captions on, I guess, only one other channel. They have a channel which has elderly as their which is to elderly, and it provides captions as well, but the rest is not captioned. They have it's called a deal, not a contract, where they have a public service deal, and they have a lot of demands too, but they are always behind of us. Just like in Norway, we cooperate with them, and we are open. We openly tell about everything that we do and how we do it, and that has been the way we have done it since 2011 when I started. The commercials, the small TV stations, they, as far as I know, it's still they still just have to make an action plan and send it to what's called the radio TV board, nævnet in Danish. And in that action plan, tell that they are making progress, how they will provide more subtitles and so on. It seems very small still, and it is a small market in Denmark too.
Maybe they should use a little bit of City's whip and
and they also have some obligations. Their action plans should always tell what they do on their websites, and I guess that will be the place where they will deliver most, because I think most small TV channels will find it very hard to find the money to provide captions and audio descriptions and so on. It's quite heavy for them.
Yeah, the markets look different also in the different countries. So I realize it's kind of difficult to compare directly because it's so different.
Yeah, and
situation.
just to say something about the communication, as Siri mentioned, it is a big thing here also to communicate how what we offer and how you find it. It is I really think that it has developed for the recent years, and most people in Denmark now know that we have the captions. I also think if it hasn't changed in Norway, Siri, I think that it's still quite a lot easier to find the captions in DR than in NRK. You have a very difficult solution in NRK, as far as I know.
Very exclusive, making it difficult. So I would like to just touch upon the technology a little bit. So Anna mentioned AI. So that is the AI for captioning, I think. That was started with the local news, and then it was made, as far as I know, in close cooperation with the Hard of Hearing Federation. So it was also tested, and I, who like technology when it works, I'm very happy that a majority of the users were more or less positive to this development, even if, as you say, it's absolutely not qualitatively good enough for everything. But sometimes you have to kind of progress over perfection. Kind of, we need to have, it's better to have something than to have something perfect, maybe, if we cannot afford everything. But now it sounds like you are doing more with AI. So could you just expand a little on that?
Yes, we do have a very tragic situation in Sweden right now with a school shooting in Örebro, 11 people dead and 6 injured. So from yesterday at about noon until late in the evening, we have had extra broadcasting news, both in broadcast, in BC and online. And we have captioned everything. A mix of people, live subtitling, and the automatic captioning. They are working like colleagues, so to speak. So it's the person who are steering. Oh, this coming up here, one person speaking for like 10 minutes, a police who is going to describe what is happening, and it's a quiet sound area, not any buses or cars going around, then the automatic captioning will take care of that. But now there are lots of people talking at the same time and busy area, then I will caption this manually with the help of Velotype. So they have been working like that for almost 24 hours now, because it's going on and on. And it means that you don't have to be as many as if you only do it manually. For us in Sweden, as Siri and Heidi were speaking about, we've had quite an easier solution for how to find the captioning, because it doesn't matter what company you are watching, it's always page 199 in the TTV remote control. So that's quite easy to find. But the sign language is another story, because with this Örebro happening, we have also sign language interpreted lots and lots of those extra broadcastings, because Örebro is a center for the deaf community in Sweden traditionally, and lots of deaf young people, especially because it's only gymnasium school in Sweden that provides for deaf young people and children. So it's extra important that we do sign language interpret those broadcastings. And that's a problem for the audience to find those broadcastings. Sometimes they are in broadcast, sometimes they are on play, sometimes they are in the app. And this workflow is really a challenge for us, speaking about technique that is only not connected to the actual service, but the background. And it's so much more important with the growing numbers of sign language and audio description and so on, that the audience finds it. And as my colleagues were talking about, that they even know that it exists. So there's a big challenge for everyone to come out and tell the audience what this is provided for you, but how do you find it? And then for the AI, you described it well there yourself, Susanna, what we're doing, and it's quite challenging also for internally for people working here and for the audience and maybe others, but it's also seen with great curiosity, and we are looked upon as courageous for daring to do this. And we have made mistakes and then had to like back off. We have also made great progress, and this is actually very good, because some of the audience that really wants everything that's being said also being formed in captions, they are very pleased. Then there are other audience groups that want it to go slower, or they just want sammanfattning, a
summary,
yeah, a summary what's being said. So we are also working with how can we meet that audience. We have a function now when you watch play that you can slow down the video and also then the captioning, or you can speed it up. And different audience groups want one, and the others want something else. Like people with ADHD are sometimes they want to speed it up, and other people with other specialties in their personality, and they want to slow it down. So yeah, the technique can really help us, but we need to always listen to the audience and pick up what they are wanting. Quite interesting both to have surveys, but also focus groups, and to be able to dive deeper, speaking with the same persons about different subjects in this area.
Yeah, I have got a question I see in the Q&A here from the audience, whether you measure satisfaction on subtitling users. So it seems like you do have surveys and things like that. Yeah.
Yes, we have not done it every year, but now we are starting to do it more often. If we have done it like every other year before, we are going to do it several times a year and in different ways, as I described. Sometimes large surveys for everyone, sometimes surveys for just people with hearing impairment, and sometimes focus groups. But it's also an issue of bringing out the metrics. How do we know that the quality is the one that we want, and that is satisfactory for the audience? So we have to come out with how to measure it, and that's quite difficult actually, because it's only this quite clumsy metric called word error rate that is all over the world. But we want some other more granular metrics. So next time we speak, maybe I will come up with our great new metrics. I hope so.
There is a standardization effort going on in ITU around quality of captions. So that may help, hopefully, that we can have a more kind of aligned way of looking at captions quality.
That will really be great.
Yeah, hopefully. So we are getting a lot of questions. I think I will open up for the questions, because we have one here that is for all of you. Do you provide spoken subtitling as separate audio track in addition to standard subtitling, audio description, and normal audio tracks? If not yet, do you have any plan to implement? In a separate, or I guess in addition, then it should be or something else.
Well, yeah, well, it's a separate audio file.
Yeah.
Yeah. For us.
And for all of you, I guess. And then this is a long one. Thanks for your very important work. I would like to ask about services for humans with hearing impairments. Could you give some perspective on how you see the problematics that the audience may experience with, for example, understanding of dialogue in TV programming? Would captions be the service to give everybody access to the content, or can improvements for the audio mix for example, boost of the dialogue and reduction of background audio maybe help as well. Siri, do you want to comment on that? I guess you're already working on it.
Yeah, I think SVT already has a service, clear speech, or is that what you call it, Alma?
Yeah. Yes. Tydligare tal, enhanced dialogue or clear speech, where you only online, where you can choose to click on that function, and then the dialogue channel will remain, and the others that holds the background or music, they will lower. So you only hear the speech, but then when it comes only music, then the music is getting louder again, so you don't miss out any sounds when no one is speaking.
And when we look into the future, do you see kind of the combination of features and apps and different ways of watching TV? I guess people are doing both, maybe linear and digital, and this is all changing. I'm sure the user behavior is changing as well. But do you see that your life will become easier, or that it will become even more complex with loads of devices and things? I don't know, Siri, do you want to try to look around the corner and see what is happening kind of in the future?
When it comes to the different, linear broadcast and streaming or play, it's about 50-50 actually, the numbers. But when you look at the volume, how hours spent, then actually the broadcast or linear are about 66%.
Okay.
And on demand and in our player, the hours would be 34%. So the live, the linear, what you call a broadcast, is still very much alive. And when it comes to devices, as you've said, it's gonna. I'm not sure if it's going to be that much more devices. It looks like mobile and the large screen. That's primarily where they use us. Not so much anymore pads. The what you call it?
The iPad.
iPad is, yeah, but that's a
tablets.
Apple product.
Tablets, maybe, I think
Tablet,
is correct.
yeah, that's it. Oh, so not that much tablet actually. The children, the small children from 0 to 5, 6 years old are placed in front of a tablet sometimes. But others, we don't see that much tablet use. So it's the big screen and the mobile. And the mobile, because people are consuming content now everywhere and in all kind of situations. So that's also a very good, when it comes to the carrot, trying to convince people why they should think about accessibility. This is a very good argument, because people are not sitting at home in their living room watching the big screen anymore. They're everywhere. They're out running, they are on the tube, and there are a lot of they're sort of hard of hearing or
for other reasons.
Yeah, so there's other reasons to prioritize accessibility actually. Yeah,
that's a super good example where we also always argue that I don't know, I can't remember now the numbers, and they're probably more from social media and so on, but there are high numbers of people who are watching a video, at least on social media, with the sound off, so that captions are really the only way to reach people. They want kind of things to move, but they still need the captions. So that's really where.
And another interesting result that we had from some of our research recently was that people today, almost no one only uses the content. They do something else at the same time. Okay. So if you're listening to a podcast, you're probably running or driving or washing up or the dishes, and if you're watching television, you're sitting on the mobile and reading news at the same time as you, yeah. So that's also very important, that even if you don't have a disability, you're still sort of not 100% on our content. So that's also very important.
Would that lead us to slower tempo, more easy understandable, easy digestible things? I mean, how would that, I mean, the fact that people try to multitask, because I think it's more multi-failing, to be honest, but I mean, would that also kind of make a difference in the content, you think, in the future?
I think that people are different, and you want different things. Like my blind colleagues, he would like to speed up everything. He wants to hear everything, but he wants to speed it up. While my mother would like it to slow down and have, you know, shorter summaries of things. She doesn't need all the words. So I think that in a perfect future, it would be optimal if we could maybe get, hopefully, artificial intelligence to help us to give this kind of diverse services inside the service. You have captioning, would you have it summarized? Would you have it like we have today, or maybe transcription with every word, for example? Yeah.
But that would, I think, require the users to be more on the digital side or to use a device. That's what I mean when I say more devices. I mean more features on the devices. So you combine your if you're familiar with your mobile, then that is how I kind of get my accessibility service from NRK. It's not the linear TV. We can't really do all these things, the fancy things. I think we need a combination. Or
the perfect. A very good solution would be if you know your mobile and you use it all the time, then you go into the settings and you tell the settings that I would like the summary version of captions, no matter if I watch SVT, DR, NRK, TV2, it doesn't matter. So you don't have to do the choice every time you start watching something. So that in theory would be the optimal solution, that you do this kind of you give the personalization once, and then the device knows how to find it.
Can I add just a little comment, Susanne?
Absolutely, please.
Since this autumn we have had mandatory login to DR, and we have of course had a lot of protests because many people think that it's wrong, that something that you have already paid, and now they ask us to log in, and they are taking all the our data and so on. But when it comes to accessibility, when we come through this thing, there's a lot of gifts in the mandatory login, because what Siri is telling you that you can do with your mobile, if you know it, you will be able to do the same thing in our companies. If you're logged in, it already now it remembers. Yeah, I always have captions, and when I look at television, so I can look at the quality of our captions, and it remembers from time to time that I want the captions. And I think we can build on. So if you need audio description, or you love audio description, you can get it provided to you. That now we have a new audio description program.
So personalization and more digitalization maybe, but in a slow pace. So we will still have, in the upcoming foreseeable future, we will still have a lot of linear TV where we cannot provide everything we would like to provide. The technology is more kind of moving into the digital, and there we can provide more things or better things, and a combination of human and AI. And also, but with the users would still need to learn some new tricks before we can make it all smooth. That's kind of a summary of what we are looking forward to in the future.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great summary.
Yes. Hope so. Okay, we need to wrap up. Thank you very much for this. It was extremely enlightening. I thought I knew most of this, but it was really, really good to talk to you, and very thank you for being sharing everything with us. That was really, really nice. And thank you also. We got some condolences for the shooting in the Q&A, so thank you for that. We're all a bit in a bad mood today, but let's look at more positive things. We have the upcoming webinar on the 13th of February. We are providing the report on the results of a workshop we had this Monday, so just 2 days ago in Helsinki in Finland. And that is a super nerdy content. So we are talking about the EN 301549 requirements that go beyond WCAG. So everything that the public sector needs to comply with in the EU legislation. And the facilitators of that workshop, we will report on the results. Everything this is public and will be shared with everyone, but we want to go through the results also on the 13th. And then I just wanted to quickly also remind you of the big event we have in IAAP EU this spring. We are always touring in the spring, and in the autumn we're always in Brussels, and in the spring we are touring. And this time we go to the Czech Republic, and it's the first time we do something in the East, so we're super excited about that. Amazon is our big main sponsor, so there will also be a super cool exhibition with nice things from Amazon, and it's on the 23rd and 24th of April, again with the full day workshop first and then a public event that is hybrid. The workshop is online only, and there's a QR code if you're interested, and Stefan is also providing the links in the chat. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and have a really nice rest of your afternoon. And don't forget to make something accessible before you have dinner. And I hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.